you have no confidence in self, you are twice defeated in the race of life. A people without knowledge of their past, history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. Liberate the minds of men, and ultimately you will liberate the bodies of men. Men who are earnest, but not afraid of their consequences. They try to put my soul in a black hole, but didn't realize this melanin is gold. That's why I shine with this little light.
Let's get it. You're now tuned into Civics for the Culture, hosted by me, Bennie, aka Poeticlee Williams III. And I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a politician. However, I'm someone just like you that has access to information that can research, educate, and provide awareness to the system that we're in, to the laws that can sometimes hinder us as people of color and limit our quote-unquote freedom. That's not what we're in this country for, and that's not what we're about, and that's not what we're here on Civics or the Culture to do. We're here to move forward and progression. We're here to open our minds and open up our actions. No longer just sitting back and saying, you know, I don't like this. No longer just talking and saying, you know what, I hate this government and things of this nature. No, it's time to actually learn about people in this history, black people in this history, white people in this history, whoever it is about in this history that has helped us and helped and revolutionize our minds, and those that have been against us, so that we know what we're fighting for and what we're fighting against here. And that is my purpose. That is my passion. That is what I'm here to do. And we're going to do it throughout every week. We're going to do it throughout the week. Civics of the Culture on Watch LOTUS X. Go to follow me on Instagram. Follow me on all social media, Poeticlee, Poeticlee, and follow Watch LOTUS X. So, getting into today, man, you know, there's this thing of living blind, right? There's this thing of this idea of living blind, and it's kind of living life in this motion, right? We wake up, we do these things to get our day started, and we start, and it's kind of this system we've just been revolving for certain people. Then there's certain people that you have a little bit more things on that plate of things that revolve through your life, right? And one of those things that we kind of just walk through blindly are the things that represent what we're walking through, what we're walking past: the buildings, the names, the sculptures, the statues, the monuments. We just live this life blindly and just accepting what is already here. And sometimes that's not sometimes, but a lot of times that's the dangerous flaw of, you know, thinking that you're in a society that really cares for you, thinking that you're in a society that's about democracy, thinking that you're in a society that's about diplomacy, thinking that you're in a society that's about freedom and that upholds its constitution and the rights and kind of the moral ethics of its constitution. And what I mean by that is living in a world where there's statues that represent rapists, living in a world where there's statues that represent racists, living in a world that has statues and monuments that represent people that honestly did not hold moral ethics of what we would like this country to represent. You know, we're coming to this time period now where a lot of statues and monuments are being protested against. A lot of statues and monuments are being defaced. And why is that? Someone may say, why would you do that? Why could you do that? Well, maybe why could this image and this symbol, right? Because let's get into what a monument is, right? And that's what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about as the president just signed an executive order that we're going to discuss, and that's regards to monuments, that I think is important to note, especially if you're out there protesting, especially if you're out there trying to fight for the cause. You need to stay alert to what is changing in this system, what's moving daily, because a lot of things are moving in and out daily that can affect you. And that one day when you thought you were out protesting, doing your thing, now the next day you're behind bars because of something that's changed legally. And we need to discuss that. We need to be aware of that. We need to move quickly and strategically around that. So what is a monument? A monument is a physical object, such as a building or a statue, pillar, that is built to keep the memory alive of a person, persons, or an event. A memorial is something that's just not always physical, but it's just such as a monument or a holiday that is intended to remind people of an aspect in history, right? So when you look at that right there, when you describe what a monument, a memorial, a statue, what these things are, they're kind of they're reminding people of history, but they're also sending an ideology and sending a message to people that, hey, this is what we represent, this is what we stand for. So when we talk about Columbus statues, when we talk about cities named after Columbus, when we talk about any general that was part of the Confederate being having statues, when we talk about these different people across the country that are represented that fought for racism, that fought for slavery, that fought for, when I mean fought for, I mean they wanted to keep it. That's what I'm talking about. So when we honor these things, we have Columbus Day. When we honor these things, what are we really sending the message of? Are we sending that message that then that just keeps going and keeps going, revolving this life of living blind? We're not living blind, but we're actually absorbing. We're blind to the injustice. It's a weird thing because we learn about it. You learn about slavery. You learn about the civil rights era. You learn about all this history that we endured, yet we still allowed. And I think we've hit this bubble where no more is no more. Right? We're not allowing this message and this symbol to represent and to stand here and to allow and to make people feel comfortable about what these other people stood for. That's what it makes people feel comfortable. When you see a symbol and when you see it being appreciated, when you see it being valued, when you see it being just, oh my gosh, just it's right there in front of your eyes. It's being honored. You're like, wow, it makes you feel comfortable about whatever stance you may have. It doesn't matter what stance you have. I could say Kobe's the best basketball player of all time. If I see a statue of Kobe, hey, Kobe got a statue. It holds weight. Once you start to destroy the symbol, you destroy that concept and that ideology that comes with that symbol. So yes, someone may say, well, what is defacing, what's protesting against monuments really going to do towards Black and brown people? Is that really going to help police brutality? Yeah, it's bricks, right? We're on this building, we're building this foundation of justice, we're building this foundation of moral, having just more moral rights. We're building this foundation of honoring each other and really withholding some sense of humanity within each other. So if we're going to do that, then we need to destroy the symbols that actually go against that. We need to destroy the symbols that actually go against having a true heart. We need to destroy the symbols that actually go against treating you like my brother, treating you like my sister, because these symbols that are still up, these cities that are named, these schools that are named, when I think about Yale, I mean, it's too many just symbols to even name. Too many. So it comes in, oh, damn, how do you do? I mean, it's like you lived your whole life of lies. That's the frustrating part, because it's like you live this whole life of lies, and now how do you even go? You're like, now you're really in a hole, and that's where a lot of people give up. You're in this hole, and it's like, man, how do I even climb out of this? But slow down. There's so many moving parts that are happening, and that's why I say I love the movement, what's happening right now, because now, anytime more than ever, we have the capability to really utilize all our hands. We can have people on the streets protesting. We can have people using their platforms to speak. We can have people making legislative law, like helping in the judicial systems. We can have people part of the law enforcement. This is the time more than ever to have all hands on deck, not just be out in the streets, not just a post. Literally all hands on deck. We have the capability now. We're too strong. We're too strong. Our numbers are lit. We're golden. And then the thing that you gotta love about it now, it's not just Black and brown people fighting for this message. Now it's white. We got our white brothers and sisters out here fighting as well. We can't forget about we can't get about our indigenous people as well. When we fight for these rights, we're fighting for our indigenous people too. And that's something we want to hold on to, because the laws, ideas, events that either contribute to slavery or the destruction of humans on this country, in this land right here, we cannot continue to allow to send that message and say, this is okay to name your school. This is okay. So if you go to a school and it has somebody's name, I need you to look up the history of that person. If you're walking past a statue or a memorial and it has somebody's name, face, or whatever, you need to look up that person. When you walk past something, you see, oh, this event happened this date. Understand what happened on that day. What really just happened? Who did that affect? What was the cause of this event? See, it's educating ourselves to really know what we're doing here, how we're moving. They don't really focus. Yeah, we go through a history class, but we don't focus our lives on really understanding our history so that we can then understand how to move through our present into our future. That's not preached down to us. So now it's on us, that our own onus to take up that research, to take up that education. We have the phones now, we have the computers now, we have everything to our capability now, to be stronger than any generation, because we've seen the work that's taken, and now we have a little bit of extra sauce to make it really get cooking. You know, I'm not one to tell people how to protest, but a protest is a protest. A protest is a protest, a statement or action expressing disapproval of an object or to something. That's a protest. So I'm not here to say, oh, how to protest, but what I am saying is a protest, and I think we need to now know there are going to be laws that are going to hinder how we protest. So we have to be smart. One thing I wanted to talk about today is the new executive order that was signed against to protect American monuments, memorials, and statues, and combating recent criminal violence. That is the title of this. Section 1. Purpose. The first duty of government is to ensure domestic tranquility and defend the life, property, and rights of its citizens. All right. That's section 1 of this executive order. It says here, over the last 5 weeks, there has been a sustained assault on the life and property of civilians, law enforcement officers, government property, and reverend American monuments, such as the Lincoln Memorial. Many of the rioters, arsonists, and left-wing extremists who have carried out and supported these acts have explicitly identified themselves with ideologies such as Marxism that call for the destruction of the United States system of government. Now, wording is so key. That's why we do this here on Civics of the Culture, because wording and understanding how narratives are controlled is so key. What is really being said? Left-wing extremists. Some things are so irresponsible because of the narrative that it then creates and gets people to think that what's happening. These monuments that are being taken down has nothing to do with left or right or center or middle, whatever. It has something to do with the fact of humanity being dishonored. If you say in the first duty of government is to ensure domestic tranquility and defend the life, property, and rights of its citizens, then defend Black and brown people in our image and our heritage, our culture. Defend us from having to go out and go to a school or go to anywhere that has the name, an image, and symbol of somebody that was for slavery. Defend us for that. If that's really the first duty of the government, it shouldn't have to be a protest to change its name to City of Columbus across the country. It shouldn't have to be the people fighting to take down what is it, a Robert E. Lee statue. What Virginia just took down one as well. What if Virginia just take down? I want to definitely look that up. Shout out, I think it was Virginia, it may have been Richmond. Let's see here. Let's do some real quick research, because Stonewall Jackson, good old Stonewall Jackson, removed from Richmond's Monument Avenue. Right, more Confederate monuments to come down in Richmond. If you don't understand what the Confederate, what that even means, Confederate States of America, also called a Confederacy, In the American Civil War, the government of 11 southern states that succeeded from the Union 1860-61, carrying on all the affairs of separate government and conducting a major war until defeated in the spring of 1865. Defeated in the 1865. So you, cities, buildings, people that are pushing the Confederate flag, that are pushing the Confederate States of America, it does not exist. It's not a real thing. As a matter of fact, you're a traitor. You're a traitor. So if this government, first thing first, if this government is to defend the tranquility and life, property, and rights of its citizen, then remove this idea of having traitors represented and honored. Remove that. It's not even a white or black thing. It definitely deals with black people. But hey, it's really comes down to, are you for America or not? Because they were defeated in 1865. What did the Confederate States stand for? I mean, it stood for establishing, mainly keeping slavery would be protected. it definitely wanted the institution of slavery to be protected because that was their money. We were their money. So when you stand for something, understand what you're standing for. When you walk by something, understand what you're walking by. When you live through something, understand what you're living through, because we must rise above living blind and accepting what's given to us. Accept nothing. If it's given to you, accept nothing. You earn it. You earn it. You fight for it. That is life right there. This life, nothing is given to you. We have to earn it. That is really rising up out the mud, is earning our name, earning our honor. And that's what we're going to do right now. That's what we do on Civics of the Culture. That's what you have people doing out in the streets. That's what you have people doing in those buildings, in the law offices. We're earning our name. We're earning our rights, and we're earning our dignity. And that's what we're going to do. And that's what we're going to do as we protest. And that's what we're going to do as we take down these monuments that represent the people that are against Black, brown people, the people that are against humanity, the people that are against the evolution of all. And that's what we're going to do. You know, when I look at this executive order here, it lets me know that we have some work to do, because Section 2, policy. It is a policy of the United States to prosecute to the fullest extent permitted under federal law, and as appropriate, any person or any entity that destroys, damages, vandalizes, or desecrates a monument, memorial, or statue within the United States, or otherwise vandalizes government property. The desire of the Congress is to protect federal property is clearly reflected in Section 1361 of Title. Then it gets down to where it is protected. But understand, it is a policy of the United States to prosecute to the fullest extent permitted under the federal law. If any damage is done, to these, it is a policy. Let's read it. It is a policy of the United States, as appropriate and consistent with the applicable law, to withhold federal support tied to public spaces from state and local governments that have failed to protect public monuments. Let me read that one more time. It is the policy of the United States, as appropriate and consistent with applicable law, to withhold federal support tied to public spaces from state and local governments that have failed to protect public monuments, memorials, and statues from destruction or vandalism. These jurisdictions' recent abandonment of their law enforcement responsibilities with respect to public monuments, memorials, and statues cast doubt on their willingness to protect other public spaces and maintain the peace within them. These jurisdictions are not appropriate candidates for limited federal funds that support public spaces. So it's always going to come down to the money. So you know, one thing I said about protesting is there's an emergency order that we can call upon mayors to take down these monuments, right? So as we protest, we personally don't have to, but let's say, hey, all right, so you want to lock us up now, right? So I mean, when we talk about being locked up, they have right here, where is it? Yes. So the desire of the Congress to protect federal property is clearly reflected in Section 1361 of Title 18 United States Code, which authorizes a penalty up to 10 years imprisonment for the willful injury of federal property. For the willful injury of federal property. Wow. Look here. If a statue represents someone that murdered hundreds and thousands of my people for their own greedy benefit and monetary gain, then you damn right we're going to deface it. You know what? If me spray painting this Stonewall face is going to lead up to 10 years, we have a real issue here in America. We have a real issue, and we know that. We know that. And so it's being wise now. Now you're seeing where local cities can be affected if they allow such damage. Their money can be affected. Their funds can be affected. See how this plays? See how this rolls out right here? And this is what this is when you think you're living in democracy, when really you're living in this world of I'm going to screw with you. That's the best way to put it. I'm going to screw with you. So it's being strategic. It's being real strategic, and it's fighting for our own. It's earning our own, where nothing's going to be given to us. This government's not going to give anything to you. So for local people in local offices, just cities that may be worried about that, if we remove this, our funds are going to be limited. Look here. Your community, your people in that city, your people in that town, wherever you are the people that support you. Those are the people that push you. So don't feel pressured by an executive order because your funds are going to be limited. Do what's morally right. Fight for the people, and the people will fight for you. And that is life, my friends. Fight for the people, and the people will fight for you. And that's what we're going to do every day here on Civics of the Culture. My name is Bennie, a.k.a. Poeticlee Williams. We've talked about monuments this time. We've talked about so many different things that affect our country, especially for Black and brown people, because we here built this land. We here were brought to this land. We here were slaves on this land. We here were then segregated, integrated into a system that did not teach us fully about our history. We here were brainwashed. So at this point, we here are pissed off and upset, and we're going to make our voices heard. And if you feel us, you feel us. If you hear us, you hear us. But hey, join us and fight for the people and fight for what's right, because when you fight for the people will fight for you. Until next time, we're out.